covering the world of professional wrestling. This is the Signature Spot with Chris Toplak.
3, 2, 1.
Thank you very much for tuning into the latest episode of the Signature Spot with Chris Toplak. As always, I greatly appreciate your ongoing support. I'm hoping to bring my A game today, so I've downed half a bottle of daytime cold and flu medication. I want to see if I can make it to the end of the program without crashing and burning. There's a lot of bright lights in the room, and I think I'll be just fine. Happy Easter long weekend, by the way. Hopefully you have tomorrow off, can sit back, relax, enjoy the long weekend, indulge in chocolate. See family, friends, perhaps consume a craft beer or two or three. And again, just enjoy it. Watch some pro wrestling while you're at it as well. On the program today, the Superstar Shakeup. Which brand ended up with a better roster? I believe there's a clear-cut winner in my eyes. Industry news and a detailed look at the recent Sasha Banks situation.
Your weekly recap.
The Superstar Shakeup took place on Monday and Tuesday, but let's start with Team Red. Who made their way over to the Raw brand? Well, The Miz did. I believe that was a no-brainer. I predicted it last week. He has The Miz and the Mrs. reality show that airs on the USA Network, which of course is the same network as Monday Night Raw. Here's a surprise. We'll dive into this momentarily. The Viking Experience. Chris, I don't know who they are. They were renamed from the War Raiders because apparently nobody would know who they were if they were named the War Raiders, despite the fact a lot of people tune into NXT and they are the reigning NXT Tag Team Champions. Mind-boggling. Cedric Alexander from 205 Live, he gets a bit of an upgrade. Andrade and Selena Vega, I believe that the world is his on Monday Night Raw, and Selena Vega is one of the best managers in the game today. Mr. 619, Rey Mysterio makes his way back to Team Red. The Usos, which makes a lot of sense to me, they had nothing else left to accomplish on SmackDown Live. They bring a lot of tag team credibility to Team Red. Naomi joins her husband, Eric Young, which means Sanity is officially broken up, Lacey Evans, and AJ Styles. Let's hope the Raw will be the house that AJ can rebuild. They need a little bit of help in the foundation. So the opening segment was a bit of a bore featuring the McMahons. That was Shane and Stephanie. But it was nice to see The Miz exact his revenge on Shane, despite the fact the feud is officially dead in the water at this point. And as I noted, because Miz and Mrs. is airing on the USA Network, it was a lock that The Miz would switch over to Raw. While I'm frankly getting exhausted of 8-person tag team matches, Aleister Black, Ricochet, Zack Ryder, and Kurt Hawkins taking on the Viking Experience, and the Revival was highly enjoyable. Yes, the NXT Tag Team Champions, the War Raiders, have been officially dubbed the Viking Experience. It's a bloody ride at an amusement park. Apparently, rumor has it, they were originally going to be called the Berserkers. Are you kidding me? That's even worse. And now Ivar and Eric are their solo names. Yeah, they had to take it a step further. Let's hope the second Vince becomes preoccupied with the XFL, Triple H makes the executive decision to switch them back to the War Raiders. Who the hell are these War Raiders? They're a new team, Vince. Super over, great merch sales. Good then. I love the dynamic between Finn Balor and Andrade. Andrade and Selena will be a great fit on Raw, and hopefully he will become a future champion. Elias has been a heat-seeking missile as of late, and the Montreal faithful booed him out of the building until Rey Mysterio saved the day. Unfortunately for Mr. 619, Lars Sullivan squashed him like a bug. Anyone else notice that despite the roster changes, Lars is somehow still a free agent? He shows up on Raw, and he's not officially attached to the brand. It was weird. Despite the fact it was fairly predictable, the Usos would have been a nice surprise, but the WWE production team ruined it by accidentally putting up a graphic with the Usos' name by mistake as opposed to Rude and Gable. Did you catch that? I thought, oh, I guess they're coming out then. Sami Zayn did a great job of conducting the hometown crowd to cheer along to his theme song, and they ate out of the palm of his hand. Although it was inevitable that he would turn on them, he says he loves the city, hates the people, can't stand them, and he thrives as the obnoxious heel. I found it interesting how the commentary team acknowledged Sasha Banks missing from the equation in the women's tag match. Naomi needed a change of scenery. It's nice that the WWE allowed her to join the Usos on Monday Night Raw. I believe she has a bright future there, and she really had nothing else to gain on SmackDown Live. Braun Strowman ran through EC3 in a matter of minutes, and I simply don't get it. EC3 is a very reputable performer who looks the part, he talks the part, he acts the part, and yet for whatever reason, Vince reportedly can't stand him and won't give him a chance. If anyone from NXT was made for Vince's vision of the main roster, you would think it would be EC3, a logical choice, but apparently not going to happen. Becky Lynch versus Ruby Riott served its purpose, short but sweet. Post-match, Natalya came out wanting a shot at Becky's Raw Women's Championship, which was well received. They have climbed the ranks together, so it makes sense to pair them up. But Lacey Evans eventually came out and announced that the winner of her versus Natalya would face Becky for the Raw Women's Championship. Evans being in there with a ring general like Natalya greatly benefited her. A fairly solid match with Evans winning after a picture-perfect moonsault despite a rough landing. Her knees landing directly on Natalya. That was brutal. In the main event, AJ Styles was revealed as the third man, joining Roman and Seth. You're likely familiar with my admiration for AJ Styles, but he honestly had nothing left to accomplish on SmackDown Live, so to me, the move made sense. As you heard last week, I predicted this. I felt it was a serviceable episode of Raw, despite the fact the superstar shakeup is silly, drawn out, and in my opinion, unnecessary. I prefer the draft format, and only after a couple of years. Now let's see how SmackDown fared in the superstar shakeup, and I believe they were the clear-cut winner. Roman Reigns, Intercontinental Champion Finn Balor, Kairi Sane teaming with Asuka and Paige as their manager, Ember Moon, Bayley, Elias, Lars Sullivan, Buddy Murphy, plus it was announced on WWE.com that Liv Morgan, Chad Gable, Apollo Crews, and Mickie James will all join Team Blue. By the way, the SmackDown Women's Division is looking absolutely stacked heading into that October deal with Fox. I thoroughly enjoyed the opening segment with the Montreal crowd embracing Kofi Kingston and Kevin Owens, a.k.a. Big O, filling in for Big E as the honorary member of the New Day for the main event. Finn Balor versus Ali was a fun match that I look forward to witnessing again with a proper build-up. Charlotte versus Carmella was fairly enjoyable. Lars Sullivan destroying R-Truth was unexpected, but consistent with his recent attacks. And yeah, I guess Lars is now on SmackDown Live. He even stated recently, in 18 months, he will be a world champion. Do you believe that will become a reality? I guess time will tell. Becky Two Belts showed up, which eventually led to the majority of the SmackDown Women's locker room making an appearance. The Iconics in Fire and Desire versus Bayley, Ember Moon, Asuka, and Kairi Sane was certainly convoluted, but it definitely served a purpose with Sane coming off the best out of everyone in that match. By the way, all 8 women with Paige as number 9 were all once members of the NXT roster. Quite surreal to consider. And behold the power of NXT creating these new stars for the future. New Day versus Cesaro, Nakamura, and Rusev turned out to be a satisfying and amusing matchup. With Big E out, I wonder how long Big O will act as their honorary member. Vince came out to announce the future of SmackDown, the future of the entire WWE for that matter, a man who exudes charisma, is without a doubt the biggest acquisition in SmackDown history. Out came Elias. I was thinking it was going to be Brock Lesnar or Roman Reigns, but then again, he was interrupted by Roman Reigns, who Superman punched the chairman and speared Elias. So again, if you were comparing the two shows, SmackDown, in my humble opinion, the clear-cut winner. I've always been Team Blue, and I will continue to proudly be Team Blue. On 205 Live, it was an excellent send-off, featuring Cedric Alexander losing to Oney Lorcan. His journey on the main roster begins this coming Monday. WWE NXT featured yet another great episode. It's so condensed. In this match, in my opinion, represented the best of the week. It was the Velveteen Dream versus Buddy Murphy. Action-packed, plenty of high spots. What was not to enjoy about that match? It was great to see Buddy Murphy featured on NXT television as he makes his way on a permanent basis to SmackDown Live. I also highly enjoyed Shayna Baszler versus Kairi Sane, which led to Io Shirai causing the DQ. Now, with that taking place, Kairi Sane will never be able to challenge for the Women's NXT Championship ever again. But with her moving to SmackDown, this was very likely her swan song. And what a way to go out. One of the most popular female stars in NXT history. Johnny Wrestling versus Roderick Strong is on deck for next week, which will very likely further lead to tension within the Undisputed Era.
The latest industry news and rumors.
Yesterday, it was announced that Heavy Machinery will be joining SmackDown Live. I'm not sure why they did not announce that on the show. Luke Harper announced that he has requested his WWE release. He posted a pretty lengthy statement on his Twitter account. A damn shame that Luke Harper was never utilized more effectively as a single star. The injuries certainly didn't help his cause. There was a point in time where he was receiving a fair bit of momentum, and he should have been feuding with Bray Wyatt one-on-one, at least once. A few new matches were announced for AEW's Fight for the Fallen event taking place on Saturday, July 13th in Jacksonville, Florida at Daily Places Amphitheater. Kenny Omega versus Sema and Brandy Rhodes versus Ali. WWE recently announced the new signees Kushida, Shane Strickland, and Garza Jr. have reported to the WWE Performance Center in Orlando, Florida. You can read the official announcement at WWE.com. And when it comes to industry news and rumors, there's nobody making bigger waves than Sasha Banks at the moment, who deserves an entire segment on this program. So guess what? She's getting one in just a matter of moments. I'm going to highlight the past couple of years of her career, the highs, the lows, the in-betweens, and you can determine, if you were in her shoes, what you would do.
Our topic of the week.
This week, the Sasha Banks situation, the definitive timeline. Ryan Satin of Pro Wrestling Sheet was the first to report that Sasha Banks is not only unhappy in her current position with WWE, but specifically expressed vocal displeasure over her loss at WrestleMania 35, which reportedly led to a backstage incident. There are many unknowns here, which doesn't really allow us to tell a complete story and only make assumptions. Instead, I wanted to take this segment to discuss hints leading up to this rumored situation. In the end, you will be able to formulate your own opinion on whether her rumored unhappiness is justified or if this is just merely a case of blowing a situation out of proportion. Forbes.com did an excellent job putting together a definitive timeline, really more so of her unhappiness, but I wanted mine to be more so focused on the ups and the downs throughout matches, moments, and championship reigns. I do reference the Forbes article towards the end of the show, though. The timeline that I'm going to provide is going to begin post-WrestleMania 32, where the Raw Women's Championship was officially introduced. We start with Championship Gold. Sasha Banks was officially drafted to Raw in the summer of 2016 and managed to capture the Raw Women's Championship on the July 25th edition of the show. She held the championship for a total of 27 days before dropping it back to Charlotte Flair at SummerSlam. Fast forward to the October 3rd edition of Raw. Sasha Banks won her second Raw Women's Championship, defeating Charlotte Flair, surprise, surprise, in the main event. Once again, her reign only lasted, ironically, 27 days after dropping it back to her rival, Charlotte Flair, at Hell in a Cell. This loss transpired in her hometown of Boston. Less than a month later, Sasha Banks defeated Charlotte in a Falls Count Anywhere match on the November 28th edition of Raw. That made her a 3-time Raw Women's Champion, tying the record. This time, Sasha's victory occurred in Charlotte's hometown of Charlotte, North Carolina, famously known as Flair Country. As per the trend you can quickly start seeing, Sasha Banks once again dropped the Raw Women's Championship back to Charlotte in a 30-minute Iron Woman match at Roadblock, End of the Line, taking place on December the 18th. Her reign, this time, only lasted 20 days. The proverbial game of hot potato came to an end. Sasha Banks had won the Raw Women's Championship 3 times in a matter of roughly 4 months, but her reign only lasted a combined 74 days. When you think about it, not particularly impressive. At this point, one has to wonder if the company simply did not have enough confidence in Sasha as their flag bearer, or if they just simply preferred Charlotte Flair to assume that role. Either way, this period proves to be a pivotal point in Sasha's unwillingness to trust the company with their evident lack of faith in her. On August 20th, 2017, Sasha Banks forced Alexa Bliss to tap out at SummerSlam, thus making her a 4-time women's champion. This also marked the final time she has held this championship to date. Merely 8 days later, Sasha Banks was forced to drop the Raw Women's Championship to Alexa Bliss on Monday Night Raw, a 4-time Raw Women's Champion in just over a year with a combined reign of 82 days. Given how seriously Sasha respects the lineage and prestige of championships, one can imagine how these unmemorable reigns affected her trust with the company. We jump ahead to September 1st, 2017. Sasha Banks appeared on the Sam Roberts Wrestling Podcast, where she fully admitted to preferring the structure of NXT. Here's what she said: "I think that's what's different about NXT too. We kind of always knew where we were going. So help me prepare and think ahead of time, like, how can I make this better? But when I go to Raw, it's legit like I have no clue what I'm doing. I don't even know what to prepare for. I'm just like handed something or told something, and I was like, okay, I have 1 hour to get ready. Oh, okay, all right, let's just do it." Weeks later, Sasha Banks also repeated a similar statement on a different podcast where she stated that NXT was her real home. She also alluded to this during an Edge and Christian podcast appearance in January of this year, 2019. We will get into that momentarily. Then we have the Boss and Hug connection. During the final portion of 2017, Bayley and Sasha started to team together. The two competed in the inaugural Women's Royal Rumble, with Sasha lasting an astonishing 54 minutes, 46 seconds. In February, the two competed in the first ever Women's Elimination Chamber that saw Sasha betray Bayley by allowing her to fall off the pod. If you recall, she stomped on her hands and her fingers. Bliss ultimately won the match. In March, tensions quickly rose to the surface, with Bayley walking away from several of their tag matches, which also led to some backstage brawls, an overly scripted therapy session, and continued teases of the inevitable Sasha Banks heel turn. This feud had the potential to rekindle their magic from NXT, but instead it fell completely flat. And rather than extend it, the two put their differences aside and teamed together. In my opinion, a definite missed opportunity. So no real payoff, and this is despite the fact that on dozens of occasions, Sasha has publicly stated her affinity for playing the heel character that put her on the map. Truthfully, it's much more aligned with her boss character anyway. Sasha and Bayley went on to team together throughout the majority of 2018, even competing on WWE's first ever all-women's pay-per-view, Evolution. In January of this year, Sasha unsuccessfully challenged for Ronda's Raw Women's Championship, I believe one of Ronda's best matches to date. Behind the scenes, it had been noted that both Sasha and Bayley would obsessively suggest to Vince and upper management the possibility of bringing in the women's tag titles. Eventually, their relentlessness paid off as the women's tag titles were officially introduced at the Elimination Chamber on February 17th of 2019 this year. Sasha and Bayley managed to capture the championship after defeating the team of Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose. During their short reign, Sasha and Bayley appeared on Raw, SmackDown, and even NXT, along with an NXT house show, to promote the concept of being defending champions anytime, anywhere, and specifically on any brand. Sadly, the concept never really took off as Sasha and Bayley lost their women's tag titles to the Iconics at WrestleMania 35 in a fatal four-way. Their reign lasted a total of 49 days. This is where the speculation begins. On Monday, April 8th, the day after WrestleMania, Sasha Banks no-showed an appearance on the Wendy Williams show at the 11th hour, citing personal reasons as the hurdle. Here's what she said. Due to personal reasons, I had to pull out of my appearance today on Wendy Williams. Sorry to everyone who was looking forward to it. Hopefully the opportunity will be there again later. Hashtag if you only knew. Sasha Banks always has been known for her cryptic tweets, but fans and journalists were particularly intrigued by the true meaning behind this one as well. Later on in the evening, she posted a lengthy and far more cryptic message on Twitter. There is something about the way life happens today and what makes it hard to look ahead. There are things that make it difficult to laugh, difficult to live the way you want. There are things that make it almost impossible to trust where you are or to believe in where you want to be. You look around and life is happening way too fast. Sometimes it feels like the moments are gone. Everything happens all at once and right away. We're marching towards a destiny we cannot understand, towards the kingdom of convenient. Then one day you look up and you can't find the meaning. Your crisis of purpose and passion is acting up. But they tell you that that's supposed to be normal. Well, I don't want normal. I want magic because that's the place that feels like home to me. That's the place where I remember what dreams look like, where meaning is effortless and purpose is simple. That's the place where love still matters. I want that feeling of coming home again. I want to feel like myself. I want that magic. Sasha Banks did not appear on the Raw after WrestleMania, but her tag team partner Bayley lost to Alexa Bliss in roughly 3 minutes. In fact, Sasha and Alexa had a bit of an odd Twitter exchange after it was discovered Banks muted Bliss, and the favor was returned by Alexa blocking Sasha. Yes, this is very petty. On Friday, April 12th, Ryan Satin of Pro Wrestling, she was the first to report that Sasha and Bayley were lying on the floor of the locker room at WrestleMania and back at the hotel in front of one of their rooms, loudly making it known that they were unhappy about losing the tag titles. Apparently, this was reported individually by 4 sources. The scene was reportedly in protest of losing the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships to the Iconics at WrestleMania 35. Again, this is unconfirmed. Additional reports even alluded to a violent episode featuring Sasha Banks, also unconfirmed. On the same day, Mark Middleton of Wrestling Inc. noted that Sasha Banks unfollowed Vince McMahon and the WWE on Twitter and started following AEW wrestlers Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega, Cody Rhodes, and the Young Bucks. Petty, but also perhaps very telling. To further add to the heap of speculation, it was reported by Dave Meltzer and also Slice Wrestling that Sasha Banks asked for her release, was denied, and the WWE wanted her to take a few weeks off to consider her decision. In the meantime, Sasha Banks posted a photo of herself and Bayley with the Iconics on Twitter, which shows there is very likely no hard feelings between both teams. She's also been vacationing with her husband along with good friend Kalisto. Bayley was also drafted to SmackDown, which officially split up the Boss and Hug connection. Sasha Banks' future remains uncertain. So you can really look at both sides of the spectrum here. As presented, Sasha Banks has been granted multiple title reigns, the ability to perform on the world's biggest pro wrestling platform, achieved many firsts, became a household name, and win or lose, has been positioned as a fixture in the women's division. On the flip side, each of her title reigns have remained shockingly short and underwhelming. And she has been very misused on the main roster at times, and any time momentum is gained, it is seemingly lost weeks later. The WWE also split up her tag team with Bayley before it really took off. One could make the argument that she takes pro wrestling too seriously, but I would argue that many don't take it seriously enough. In terms of acting out on social media and reportedly backstage, if true, I don't consider that to be professional conduct. And perhaps having a serious discussion with management about her future or actually leaving would be much more ideal than any of the pettiness. Either way, who are we to judge, and also who are we to know what is fact and what is fiction? Hope you enjoyed this definitive timeline, a little bit different from what I put together regarding Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, since that was an actual feud. Have a great Easter long weekend, and if you would be so kind, like, subscribe, and share this podcast. It means a lot. There's a lot of new listeners tuning in on a weekly basis. I get the messages, and I am ever so grateful for that. So keep doing that. You can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, Spreaker, iTunes, wherever the podcast's available. Tell everyone to tune in, and let's keep building momentum. And until next Thursday, happy trails to you. Until we meet again.
This concludes another episode of The Signature Spot with Chris Toplack. For new episodes, subscribe on YouTube, Stitcher, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, or iTunes. And don't forget to follow The Signature Spot on Facebook for exclusive clips, polls, and opinions.